Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Greg Elliott, and as always, joined by my wonderful co-host, Zach Ingo Finch. How you doing, Zach?
Hello, mate. Yeah, it'll be Saturday. It'll be a bonus episode for everybody else.
It's Matchday.
For us, it's Friday, and it's not quite the end of the Crimbo Limbo, but kind of is. And like everyone's back at work, but kind of not. It's a very strange vibe. But I'm looking forward to the weekend. Even though I've just had a ridiculously large amount of time off, I feel like I need more time off.
Yeah.
As always.
None of my kids' clubs are back on yet, so there is no routine to keep me in line with what day it is, and it is throwing me right off. It's fine, but it's fine. We're here. It's match day when you're listening to this. If you're listening to us on your journey to St Mary's, fantastic. We hope we can lift you up heading into the game. And you know, Brentford's form away from home is poor. We beat them on New Year's Day a few years ago. All things are pointing in a good direction, right, Zach?
Sure, mate. I swear, by the time we get to match day every week, you seem to have forgotten everything that's happened over the last year, and I'm fine with that. So far this year, not a lot.
It's the first week that Juric has had a full week with the team to prepare.
Do you want to hear what some of the players think of that?
I do, yeah, I absolutely do.
So, Yukidari Sugawara was quoted by George Rees-Julian in the Daily Echo. Under the old gaffer, when we stole the ball, we tried to keep it. The new gaffer wants us to score a goal immediately.
Perfect. Sums it up, doesn't it?
Well,
we were too possession based. Now we try and score goals. It's still not going very well, but we're trying. I think that sums it up beautifully. What more can you say about that, really?
Not really a lot, mate. To be perfectly honest, obviously we got still some injury news. Will Smallbone is never ever going to make another appearance for the club. Jack Stevens is now supposedly out for a while.
He might be on the bench in the presser. So,
well, it depends. Do you reckon when Juric says stuff in the press conferences he means it, or is it going to be like Russell Martin, where it's like he'll be involved Saturday, and what it actually means is he'll be involved probably in about a month after Saturday?
From watching the press conference in full, Juric is a man of few words, so I don't think that he's going to waste them on that sort of mind game. I waited for the 10:30 deadline for the sort of embargo to pass so I could watch part 2, and it was 2 minutes and 31 seconds long, in which he answered 8 questions. I just don't think that his pace in the press if he can apply that same logic to the team and the ball, is exactly what we're after. It's fine. I think that he wouldn't say it if we didn't have a chance of having Smallbone on the bench, because it's such an unexpected part anyway. I mean, is it a positive thing that we've got Smallbone back available for selection on the bench? The jury's out. Clean slates and systems, but from all of my judgments of Will Smallbone, he's at best a championship player. So I don't know. I don't know if that is a positive, but
we're just gonna have to see, mate. We're gonna have to see. Obviously, we don't know how the system held people. Obviously, it's a chance for clean slate. They've ended a couple of loan spells. I don't know if that's to pull people back in for the team. It seems unlikely. It seems like they're probably going to ship them off elsewhere.
They're both under 21s, right? So it was Don Ballard and is it Braggs?
Yeah, Cameron Bragg. So that kind of, I did like the transfer conversation. That was very fun, which was essentially, are you planning to bring in some new faces? Don't know, maybe. Squad's too big.
Yeah.
What about a
And
striker, perhaps? Like, squad's too big.
we're having a meeting next week to discuss it, which is like, well, I mean, we'll be almost a week and a half into the transfer window by then. Is this another case of poor planning from the board, or is it actually more that our squad is way too big, and by that point they're hoping that some of it will have moved on to allow for the growth in the areas we need?
The fact they've booked a meeting a week in advance is a good sign. The fact that the meeting probably wasn't booked, I guess they just wanted him to concentrate on the Brentford game. That's at least what my understanding would be, to actually have a full week, not
You're right,
disappear.
it makes sense to chuck it in the middle of a cup game week when
depends.
ticket sales
They might
suggest
be.
Nobody cares. So
That was a very, very. You should share that anecdote with the class when you get a chance, mate. Because I've never seen you so baffled by wow, they seem to really be baiting us on social media to go to this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't purchased tickets to attend yet, and so actually I hopped on to see. It prompted me to hop on and see if my seats were still available, and it turns out mine and many thousands of others are still available. So clearly, a combination of performances in the season and the price point have upset a lot of people, because I calculated nearly 10,000 seats in the home end still available, and that's with 7 blocks closed for the game already. So
that says a lot, doesn't it? Really.
I think I sent you the screenshot of the block I sit in, which was effectively just available tickets. So
yeah, I'm not really surprised people are starting to vote with their wallet, with the way that things have been, and it's Premier League football is what people really care about. People know we don't tend to go far, and at least the FA Cup, I don't think anyone's really bothered about us playing Swansea. It's just, I'm not really surprised. And the fact that they keep trying to put ridiculous price tags on stuff for things that, why? So you can come and watch us lose 1-0 to Swansea. It's like, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping that the financial shock of stuff like this will be the wake up call to them that they need. I do not have a lot of faith in that, though, just because of again, sort of everything that Sports Republic have done on a non-business side has been terrible, and now they're like, hang on, the non-business side of this business that we own is not performing well, and this is now having an effect on the business. It's like, yeah, guys, you're running a football club, not not a venue, but they seem to think that sometimes. But maybe we'll have to see. Maybe if we have a good run of games and attendance will bounce back up. But I don't really blame anyone want to spend a load of money to go to a cup game midweek. To be perfectly honest, I feel like a lot of people who are only attending to the season tickets,
yeah,
I remember
to
actual games.
The FA Cup used to be a cheaper outlet to take the kids and take the family to watch games. I mean, I might be completely misremembering, but it used to be like a tenner a ticket and a fiver for kids as entry level access. So £22.50 is a pretty sharp increase on that, and I don't blame people for not wanting to deal with that. And I mean, as mentioned, I'm still on the fence as to whether I'll go down or not. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, very much depends. Right, we're going to bring it back to the game and get on to some more team news and predicted 11s. But first, a message from our partners at Zencaster. So, here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencaster. Okay, so I guess a couple of key talking points before we get into the actual predicted 11. Matty Fernandez out suspended. It's going to be difficult, right?
Like in any of these situations, mate, it's next man up, and this is your chance for people to prove themselves. The problem is historically, whenever that's happened this season, it's not gone well.
Yeah.
Maybe finally we can see that Cameron Archer tool pool like wombo combo that we've wanted. Who
Down's
knows?
questionable as well. Maybe less impactful, knowing that we'd probably bring Big Les in to fill that role, who has seemingly stepped up the last few games.
Yeah, he's a
Definitely
player
brings
I hope we
more
don't lose.
confidence.
I'm not surprised that Cornet's going back to West Ham. Just didn't work out, is what it is. Big Les initially, I was kind of like, should probably send him back in January. Seems to have turned around his form, actually playing in a position that seems to be more familiar to him, in a role that seems to be better for him, and not with the instruction of simply handling the ball for the handling the ball's sake. So yeah, I think it. Yeah, it's like any situation like this. You just hope that whoever will come in will do the work. But he is a quality cracking player, and I'm sure we'll miss him regardless. You just don't want to put too much emphasis on one player.
Okay, so let's get into predicted 11s and start at the back. Ramsdale in goal is presumably where we're at. Pterodactyl glove or not, right?
Is what it is. I can't see McCarthy or Lumley being picked, so that feels like the name that we will always know, so long as there are no injuries.
Yeah. And then you think we stick with a back five or switch it up to a back four?
I mean, so far we've picked a back five. I don't see them changing that just because we've lost. I don't think, we would change that because of losing Matty Fernandez. I imagine
No.
it will be Wood, Jan, and Taylor Harbour-Bellis again. Carl Walker-Peters will play somewhere. I don't know whether he'll bring back Sugawara or keep Bree in. Bree did a good job.
Stick
Nothing.
Carl in his preferred right and bring Manning in on the left. Feels like Manning's been
I
unlucky to miss out.
Yeah, it's the I think Juric seems to have not, I don't know, like Manning and Archer as much, right? That seems to be what I've seen. Obviously, I think I'd probably prefer that. I just don't think that's going to happen from what we've seen historically. I mean, historically being what, like
Two
three
games in a
games,
week.
two
Yeah.
games in a
I
week
mean,
or whatever.
I
But
think it's so hard to tell because you just don't know how much of it is down to fitness, tiredness, knocks.
well,
I
again,
think
like a full
I think
week of
that the
preparation as
preferred
well.
combo for me would be Carl on the right and Manning on the left. Which, if you told me that at the start of the season, would make me actively laugh out loud. So, really says a lot of the position. Wood didn't have the best game against Palace. Seemed to struggle. I think he keeps his place, or do we see the long-awaited return of Bella Kotchat?
That is true. We've had it's a week of training. The problem is how do you does he get a full 90 after not playing a professional game in God knows how long at this point? So I wouldn't really be surprised if maybe he does 45 minutes here or there, but I couldn't see him getting a full game. But maybe I feel like there's been a lot of build up to it, but this was like how there was a lot of build up to Tool Pool that kind of lasted significantly more weeks than it probably should have. However, it's a different manager. It could be he's impressed this week in training. Juric chucks him in, and it's sink or swim time, right? He wants them all to be fitter than they are. I know that sometimes that's not the best way to go about it, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. It's probably I can't, as you pointed out, like we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, tiredness, all that kind of stuff. I don't know whether he's earned his place back in the team, but I don't understand why you'd keep on the bench and keep talking about it if you weren't intending to utilize that tool at some point, right?
Yeah,
And if maybe the sort of run of games has caught up with Wood, it would make sense.
yeah, because he'd
I'm
not
not.
played a lot of football before he got really thrown in at the deep end, and has done a pretty good job, reasonably consistently. Very few complaints about him from me. But yeah, didn't have the best game against Palace for whatever reason, and could well be down to fatigue at this point.
Yeah, it was
Maybe
a
it makes
couple of our
sense.
players didn't. We kind of. I'm not saying we got played off the park, or we did a little bit. I feel like if Palace's finishing was better, they could have had more than a few against us. But then I think again that just their quality in the final third, and there were a couple of key individual battles that kept being lost, and I don't think there was a lot the manager could do to switch them up. Right, like how Jan did not get a yellow card until towards the end of that game. It's absolutely beyond me. But there we are. So yeah, I can't. I think the defense kind of writes itself. I'd find it wild if we go out. I know that I still keep seeing rumors we're keeping tabs on Kevin Danso, but I still seem to think this is just like Saints fans doing the thing Saints fans do, which is
If
we're going to bring back this player.
I think it's safe to say if they're not having a meeting to identify proper targets until next week, that any rumours we've heard up to this point are probably rubbish, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Agents are just putting out stuff out there for where their players would like to go.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that before that meeting they do have players in mind that they're keeping an eye on, but if it's not actively being spoken about at the club, I don't see how it could be actively being spoken about outside of the club either. So just have to hold on and see. What does the midfield look like, do you think? I think obviously if Downs is questionable, even if he makes it into the 11, I'd want Big Les there for security reasons. Do you think we see both of them if Downs is fit? Or do you
I
think
think if Downs is fit,
Big Les
both.
either?
I think both, because he's shown that he kind of wants to play with that, and I think defensively shoring us up is important. I don't think Aribo exactly shone playing in that position either.
No.
And I think he's struggled a bit the last couple of games. He's not really done anything hugely wrong, but also not done really a lot right either. Just kind of been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd see them playing both together, but if not, I'd imagine if Downs is injured, he might put Aribo in again. Because who else have we got, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else slots into that, presumably midfield three. Even if presumably the first choice is Big Les, Downs, and Aribo. But if Downs isn't fit, who else slots into that three? Do we
Is
see the
Lallana
Lana
fit?
try and survive?
Is Lallana fit enough to play the game again? No
Yeah.
injury concerns, but can he do more than 10 minutes? Who knows? Probably not.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is the problem, right?
Do
This
we
is why
slot Tyler Diblin into that sort of more number 10 role in front of the midfield and play off that and see what happens? I don't know.
Yeah, no, who knows? It's difficult to guess that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, with Downs being potentially out, that's the missing puzzle piece for me as to what we do, especially with what options we've got going up front, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously,
And like you say, I hope that we see up front we've been strong advocates of the duo that we think will work wonders in Tall Paul and Cameron Archer. So let's hope. But I think realistically, based off of what we've seen, it'll probably be Tall Paul and Adam Armstrong again. So I mean, would dropping Adam Armstrong for Archer be a bit harsh off the back of Armstrong getting an assist last week and at least being in the right area of the pitch? Is probably the more sensible way to look at it.
I feel like his assist was that if he wasn't in that box, it would have still been a tap in, right? Like, I feel like it was more Carl Walker Peters' ball, but then my bias is shown a little bit, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting for sure, and I'm sure that there will be something in the team starting news that will make us raise our eyebrows in questions because why wouldn't there be? It'll be interesting, and we will see. Okay, so we're going to revisit our score predictions and go into a bit more detail about how we think that's going to come about after a message from our partners at the Global Sports Podcast Network.
The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, fantasy football, and a daily Premier League wrap-up broadcasted in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find GSPN wherever you find your usual podcasts.
Okay, so we're coming into the game with predictions. I mentioned a stat on the podcast yesterday about us winning the first league game of the year pretty consistently in recent history. One of those wins was a 4-1 win against Brentford. Another statistic in our favour, Brentford won 2-0 in their last away league game against Southampton, and they've never won consecutive league visits against Southampton before. And of course, I get to pick up points away from home this season. And yet, remarkably, we've both predicted wins instead of predicting us to break all of those streaks in one foul swoop. Still feeling confident on that one, Zach?
As I said, a 1-0 win, a full week with the team. Brentford coming into this with poor away form. A Paul Anuachu goal to blow the roof off of St Mary's. Well, the small roof that does not a lot when you're sat at the front, as we've both learned over the last couple of years. But, that would be, for me, a huge moment for both him, his confidence, just in time for him to end up going back to Turkey. There you go. There's the sprinkle of non-optimism on there for you that you'll want love from me, apparently. But yeah, that's how I see. I feel like he might finally get that goal, and then it will be all about defending that lead. And maybe if Armel Bella-Kotchap comes into the team, maybe he'll put in the performance to defend that lead, and then maybe that'll be the story, is the redemption arc of two players that have kind of been in and out of the team or on loan and come back and have somehow saved our season before obviously the week after, or whatever the next league game is, we get bad again, because we're still only just going to beat Derby's record. But this Saturday we'll probably win. That's kind of what I'm feeling. I don't know about you, mate.
St Mary's. Yeah, no, I'm feeling it. I still think clean sheet's too optimistic. I think we might go behind first as well. I just got a feeling that we'll try and start really fast, because that's what we do and have done under all three of our previous. Try and start fast to get the crowd lifted off their seats and just get caught on the break pretty early on, maybe in the first 15 minutes. But then I think we'll show something we've not really seen a lot of this season, but that's determination and mentality, and drive back, equalise maybe quite quickly before the end of the first half, and then a middle of the second half goal in like the 65th minute, maybe from an impact sub. Maybe Sulemana comes on, and that's the redemption arc we're talking about. Yeah. Maybe that's too optimistic even for me.
Mate, the fact that you think we're scoring twice. It took us how long to get our first league goal? And it wasn't a great goal, it was tapping. And it took us so long, and you're thinking we're going to score two.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my bones.
You feel a lot of things, mate. You feel 5-0 wins more than, anyone else I've ever met. And we get to see what more than a couple. The fact we've even had a couple in the last year shows you what a roundabout, mad sort of season last year was. But yeah, the idea that it took us like 100 years to basically score a goal, and you think we're scoring 2 in 65?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Fine.
Look, we're not going to be.
That we score 2
We're not
goals
going to be
minutes.
trying to keep the ball when we get the ball, Zach. We're going to be trying to score immediately, and with a week on the training pitch, maybe some of it's been shooting practice. It's like
that's a bit optimistic. That's far now. You're getting to mad territory, mate. For a fact we get to the edge of the box, get scared, pass it around, maybe cross it into nobody, and then lose it.
I think a Cameron Archer goal for the equaliser, and then why not Sulemana with the winner to really commit why he's been given minutes by so many of our managers when none of us can see it.
So cannot wait to see Cameron Archer not be on the team. And your prediction in the wind, and I'll take my 1-0 Paul Onuachu win, mate.
We will see. Look, any win I'll be happy with. It'll be nice to leave St Mary's feeling positive for only the second time this season since that game against Everton, which I still maintain was probably our worst performance, apart from probably Spurs.
You're right. It was as I said, that was the day that I had a medical procedure that was less than unpleasant. And I still feel like if I have to go through torture to watch Saints win again, I would rather not. But if I have to, if the universe demands it, fine. That's where I'm at.
That's it. Right, well, that is just about all we've got time for today. Hope to see you all at St Mary's, and we will look forward to seeing you again on Monday when we're feeling positive and talking about our win off the back of Juric's first proper home game with proper time to prepare. That's what we're going with. Thanks as ever for joining me, Zach. You've been listening to the Daily Southampton from the Global Sports Podcast Network, and we will see you next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.